westernmost reaches, behind the impenetrable walls of Skyrim's most protected city, lurks an evil. Markarth is nestled in the heart of the Druidic Mountains, with towering stone walls, perfect for keeping the Reachmen at bay, who thirst to reclaim the city they once sweetly tasted. But while Markarth was so focused on what they could keep out, they should have been worried about the beast hiding within. You know I like to tell a story. Joven dreamed of escaping his homeland of Cyrodiil after watching the beautiful cities and countryside be ravaged by war at the hands of the Aldemari Dominion as a child. 25 years later now, a man, he finally made it to Skyrim. He crossed by caravan into Falkreath and over the course of several days made it to the City of Blood and Silver. Just before entering, he saw a man outside the gates named Banning, who offered him some money just to run some dog food up to Understone Keep. Sounds easy enough. Upon entering, he watched a woman get brutally murdered in the marketplace. A man in miner's clothing crept up behind her and drove a dagger through her back, all while shouting something about the Forsworn.
I die for my people.
Everyone stay back. The Markarth City Guard have this all under control.
Exhausted from the travel and what he just witnessed, he decided to duck into the inn.
Did you hear? The Hall of the Dead is closed. Brother Verulus isn't the most popular man in town right now.
The next morning when he entered the Dwemer double doors, he could hear shouting.
What are you hiding, priest?
I'm not hiding anything. It's closed for a reason.
Typical Imperial lies. First you take away Talos. Now you're keeping us from seeing our honored dead? You and the Jarl will answer for any desecration of my ancestors' bodies.
That's enough, Thongvor. We're done.
After the confrontation, he followed the priest deeper into the belly of this massive complex. He'd never set foot in a Dwemer ruin. For whatever reason, the Dwemer never colonized Cyrodiil. He found himself struck with awe and amazement by its detailed structures and the pure vastness of what was built into the side of a mountain. He found the priest of Arkay, who after being persuaded admitted what was happening inside the Hall of the Dead.
We've discovered that some of the dead have been eaten. Flesh has been chewed off. Bones were snapped to get at the marrow inside. We haven't caught anyone or anything yet. It's like it knows when I'm there. If you can get to the bottom of this, the priesthood of Arkay will reward you. Take my key and be careful.
Upon entering the dark, musty halls, a voice reverberated through the stone corridors.
Not many would walk blindly into a crypt, smelling of steel and blood, but not fear. I feel the hunger inside of you, gnawing at you. You see the dead, and your mouth grows wet. Your stomach growls.
He slowly stepped forward, drawn in towards her voice like a siren.
It's all right. I will not shun you for what you are. Stay. I will tell you everything you have forgotten.
A figure emerged from the shadows, as almost if she appeared out of thin air.
You were young when you first tasted human flesh, weren't you? A brother or sister had died? An accident, of course. Then the hunger set in. Curiosity. What's the harm in just one bite? It's okay now. You found a friend who understands you. You can let go of your guilt. A lot of our kind block out the memory of their first meal. The shame is too much. But you don't need to hide anymore. Namira, the Lady of Decay, accepts you for what you are. She has a place for us where we can sate our appetites without judgment. It's inside Reachcliff Cave. But the dead have stirred from their slumber recently, and I was forced here. Meet me there. We'll fight our way to Namira's embrace together. Until then, tell the people of Markarth that their dead won't be disturbed anymore. We have bigger plans ahead.
In that split second, he decided best to go along with her, as to not arouse suspicion, and to see where this leads. Before heading out of the city for the long journey ahead, Joven needed some supplies for the darkness he was preparing to face. So he stopped by Arnleif's and Sons Trading Company to stock up on torches and lockpicks. Then on his way out of town, swung by Hogni Red Arm's meat stand for some provision for the road. The walk was short, but the rain was full force. His feet crunched beneath the rocky slopes as he ascended towards Reachcliff Cave, and outside its dark confines, Iola waited for him. He weighed in his mind if this was all a trap, and in fact he was being led like a lamb to the slaughter. He could cut her down right here and now, and end this and never set foot inside this den of death. He steeled himself and decided he needed to get to the bottom of this and root out this cult of cannibals. Inside the dungeon was dark and loomed with dust and fog, and Draugr stalked the halls back and forth, awakened from their eternal slumber. Iola offhand comments that Draugr are foul-tasting. Together they carved through the Draugr easily, and to no surprise, Iola is quite the competent fighter. This may prove more difficult than he'd hoped. The ruins wound till they reached a set of doors that upon opening revealed a great dining hall. The Draugr within were finally extinguished, and Iola approached.
You've done it. The shrine is ours again. Now we need to prepare a grand feast to welcome you to Namira's coven. You will have the honor of bringing a fresh kill for the main course, and I know the perfect person. A priest filled with the taste of an easy life, Brother Verulus from Markarth. Give him this gold, tell him you need Arcae's help exploring an old cavern for treasure. And when he stands in Namira's presence, she will take care of the rest.
A grand feast for the coven. This is what he had hoped for. All these Namira worshippers who slink in the shadows, feasting on the innocent, brought into one single room to be brought to justice. Now he just has to convince Verulus to play along, or unfortunately, it may be easier to just string him along with a lie. If he knew the truth of his life potentially being at stake, he may never set foot in this place, and the coven could escape. At the end of the feast hall sat an altar. A twisted carving of a spider-like beast coming down towards the altar with spikes and fangs, and inside where the spider's jaws would be is the face of a woman, Namira. The goddess of the dark, prince of hunger, the mistress of decay. She is the ruler of spirits and shadows and patron to cannibals. The Khajiit believe that anything that feeds on carrion are her informants. The reachmen of this area call her Namira, the goddess of death. To them, she represents darkness, ending, and rebirth. The worship of Namira can vary vastly between devotees. Some worship simply by living in darkness and squalor amongst her vermin. Others, however, feel she deserves more. They bring people to the slaughter to be sacrificed and eaten to honor the Prince of Hunger. So, why would anybody worship this monster? In the book Beggar's Prince, it speaks of a time when the gods walked like men and Daedra stalked the wilderness with impunity. It is a time before they were all confined to oblivion. The book's protagonist, Weedle, left Valen Wood to discover fortune and glory. They rescued Namira, who appeared as a filthy beggar, clothed from head to toe, covered in disease, rot, and stench, and about to be killed by a group of townsfolk. Weedle recognized Namira and begged her for powers so he could gain his fortune. He begged for 33 days. His voice hoarse from begging, it finally gave out, and she then decided to grant his request. She granted him any disease of his choosing, the power of pity, and the power to be disregarded. Weedle thought to be doomed. Weedle was an irresistible beggar. None could see the wretch without desperately wanting to toss a coin at the huddled form. However, Weedle also discovered the power of disregard, gave great access to the secrets of the realm. People unknowingly said important things where Weedle could hear them. When one chooses to lay in the shadows with the goddess of dark, they become unseen and unwanted. And there is power there in that blackness. A new doorway has opened for a secret entrance into the feasting halls of Reachcliff Cave. This wasn't part of Joven's plan for his adventure across Skyrim. He dreamed of treasure and revelry, not the darkness of a Daedric prince and their evil practitioners. He knows in his heart, if he just ignores them, he'll never forgive himself for the destruction they would cause on families for years to come. He would put an end to this madness. Inside the Hall of the Dead back at Markarth, he found Verulus and bribed him to join as a protector of Archaea in the dank crypt. Little does he know of the nightmare that they are about to enter.
Don't worry. Archaea's protection is absolute.
Inside the ruins, they're different. The cannibals have been busy in Joven's brief absence. The candles are lit, and on the stone floors and walls, blood runs thick. Inside the feast hall, patrons sit awaiting the fresh kill. On the table, already human remains. That explains all this blood. Verulus and Joven approach. Inola speaks to Verulus, and he falls under a trance caused by the raw power of Namira within her sanctuary.
Who are you? What's going on?
Priest of Archaea, I'm your friend.
You're my... friend.
Yes, I'm your friend, and I've invited you to dinner.
I've been invited to dinner. I'm so hungry.
Why don't you lay down and rest while we get the meal ready?
I need to lay down. I'll just be a minute.
Come with me. Our feast is about to begin. The meal is on Namira's table. Go ahead, carve.
Verulus lays down, helpless, on the altar. Before making any decisions, Joven needs to talk to these distinguished guests. 2 seem to be strange conjurers, but 3 of them he recognizes. Banning, the dog trainer who gave Joven his first job upon entering Markarth to deliver food to the Jarl, and he's been feeding his dogs human. I guess that makes sense why they make such great guard dogs.
I guess you know my secret ingredient for that spiced beef now.
Hogni, the butcher he bought meat from before leaving towards his hellhole the first time.
The bloodiest beef in the Reach.
Some of his fresh meats aren't what they appear. Finally, Lisbeth, the proprietor of Arnleif and Sons Trading Company.
One of my customers? Did you know I inherited the store from my late husband? Shame what happened to him. He had such good taste.
While there for the first time, she claimed her husband was killed by the Forsworn. It seems that wasn't exactly the case. What Joven was about to do next wasn't graceful, but neither is anything about this whole nightmare. He crept up behind Iola and struck her with a poisoned blade. Chaos erupted as guests got up from the table. It was a feverish storm of blades and spells, and after many potions, Joven stood victorious. He looked around the great feasting hall, scattered with death of his own doing, but felt joy that Verulus lived and the cult of Namira was vanquished. For now, a Daedric prince will likely have no trouble finding underlings to drown them in worship and do their bidding. Back in Markarth, Joven stared at the stables, wondering what would become of the dogs and horses. Inside, Hogni's meat stand, now abandoned. No heir, no next of kin. In the morning, he stepped into Arnleif's and Sons, and the porter had now taken over and had choice words for Joven.
You want to talk to me after everything you've done?
How he knows? Not a clue.
With Lisbeth gone, I'll be taking care of you.
This stone-clad city will never be the same, but hopefully for the better. Although 3 lost were important shopkeepers, life must press on. Chose their course when they debased themselves to Namira. Markarth is a city of contradictions. They boast about its immense wealth and being the most well-protected city in all of the holds. All the while, it's ravaged by poverty, murder, political strife, and Daedra worship. Rock walls climb skybound towards the Druidic mountains, while water cascades down them. a proud Nord city that's built on the skeleton of a once great Dwemer civilization. Markarth should stop being afraid what's beyond the wall, but wholeheartedly focus on what's within them. Analysis time. Another dark and twisted quest. Markarth is undoubtedly the most troubled city in all of Skyrim, besides Helgen. With all the surface level pettiness and fighting, something dark and sinister hides beneath all of it. This quest is great for many reasons, but has a few little aspects that bother me. Firstly, if your concern while playing is based on rewards and items, then doing the right thing and killing the Coven results in the worst outcome possible. You lose out on Namira's ring, which is extremely powerful. But I actually love this quest because there is a consequence for your choices, which I feel is missing quite often in Skyrim. If you wipe out the Coven, you lose 3 NPCs in Markarth's main entrance, and you lose a Daedric artifact. There is a price to be paid for justice, and that's great. I know a lot of players do this quest and side with the Ola simply because Markarth feels emptier missing those NPCs, and they want to be able to collect all the Daedric artifacts in their playthrough. It's also extremely well thought out that the 3 cannibals from Markarth are 3 of the first NPCs the player is most likely to interact with when visiting Markarth for the first time. They could have easily made it someone from the treasury house that the player might not ever even have an interaction with, and that would have just made it lose a ton of impact. In general, the whole vibe of the quest is great. It's dark and ominous. It's very cool that you can actually play the double agent. What bothers me is that you can't let Verulus in on it. I understand that conceptually for the situation, it actually makes more sense to not tell him what's going to happen because he likely wouldn't agree to come, but they should have made that just like an enormous bribe of 500 plus gold. If you really want to do the right thing and let him in on it, that you have the option to, but it's going to cost you. Giving the player a little agency with dialogue options with this quest would have gone a long, long way. Other than the player's first interaction with the Ola, there isn't any other place to disagree or question any of this quest. Which, look, I can do the mental role-playing. It would have been really cool if there was space for my character to express that as well. Reach Cliff Cave itself is extremely lame. Other than the feast hall at the end, there really isn't anything interesting about it at all. It would have been cool if throughout the cave there were discreet signs that someone like Yola had been spending time here. Clearing out the cave is just mega standard boring Skyrim cave clearing energy. At the feast, the fact that I can't ask the 3 Markarth citizens that are attending any follow-up questions drives me bonkers. And if you do side with Namira, all the dinner guests in the future will say is, shh, don't talk about it like we don't talk about it outside of the feast hall. Which is kind of disappointing. It also drives me nuts that in basically all quests that the player figures out something like gruesome and horrific, there is no one to tell. Like, why can't I go tell Imadim that Lisbeth was a cannibal? And how does he know that I killed her anyways? No one besides Verulus returned from Reachcliff. It would have been so rewarding for the player to be able to fully close the loop on these stories. To be able to go tell Cedrin at the stables, hey, Banning was a cannibal. And whether he is in utter disbelief or he says, you know what, I knew one day those despicable practices were going to catch up to him, at least the story could have come to a close. Instead, there's just this open air of, okay, I just killed a bunch of people who are cannibals in this city, and no one's going to talk about it. No one's going to talk about where are all these people at. No one's going to say anything. That's always one of my biggest beefs with Elder Scrolls side quests. The player can go through hell, and nothing really changes. While I do think this quest had exceptional tone, it lacked small bits of execution to make this a top tier Elder Scrolls quest in my opinion. The taboo nature and darkness of the story do a lot of the heavy lifting here. The plot is great. The thread that weaves between the first people you meet in Markarth and the coy lines that they say to you when you first meet, and when you see them at the feast they have a whole new meaning, is just exceptional. It's the little details missing here for me. Just a few more dialogue options or some more environmental storytelling within Reachcliff or the players' homes would have gone a long way at making this one of the best quests in the game instead of just a pretty cool one. That's about all I got. Hey, if you enjoyed the video and you made it this far, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm sorry if I sound a bit funky in this video. I'm currently very, very sick, but didn't want to wait any longer at making this video. Hey, so leave some suggestions on other quests or topics I should cover in the future. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out, guys.